world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Happy Sunday, everybody. So I see poll after poll showing that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman from the 14th District of Manhattan, representing Queens, the Bronx, where she says she grew up, except she grew up in, another town that was not the Bronx, and grew up in a quite nice place. Sandy Cortez was her name before she became Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, the head of the squad, and quite possibly the 2028 Democratic nominee for president. Now, you want to talk about the way politics work in 2026 or 2024, or when she was elected in 2018. Social media has created complete and utter idiots that if they get enough likes and enough retweets on TikTok, on the Twitter that became X, Facebook, name your social media post, then suddenly you become an expert on basically everything, to the point where people think that you could be president of the United States like AOC, who's barely 35 years old. Remember, you have to be 35 in order to be the head of the executive branch and reside in the Oval Office. So AOC, because, wow, she gets a lot of likes and retweets on TikTok, suddenly is seen as a serious contender. If you go down every poll, it's basically now at this point, in terms of people that have a real chance at this nomination, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What are her qualifications? Well, she was a bartender until she decided to run for Congress, and then won a congressional district that very few people thought she had a chance of winning, but God bless her. A lot of social media posts, good-looking girl, a lot of passion, got enough young voters out to vote for her, despite the fact that she is a democratic socialist, which more and more young people embrace. As a matter of fact, YouGov poll out recently shows that 62% of those under the age of 30, all right, they could vote. They would prefer to see a democratic socialist, or a socialist, because there's not a lot of Republican socialists, so we'll call it democratic socialist, as the next president of the United States. Nearly 2 in 3 prefer socialism, therefore will prefer a candidate like AOC, like Memdani. Memdani can't run, wasn't born here. Trust me, that'll change eventually. And now here's the problem with this. Can you name one piece of legislation that has passed that AOC has sponsored or co-sponsored in all of her years in Congress? We're now coming up on, let's see, 8. The answer is the same answer you get when you multiply any number by 0. In other words, 0. None. She has not done one thing for her constituents in the Bronx and in Queens. The only thing she has done is kept Amazon from opening up a major East Coast hub that would have paid people $150,000 on average in terms of salary, and created tens of thousands of jobs in her district. And she shot it down because she saw it as an exercise in corporate greed. That is her legacy to this point. Now she goes over to Munich, where they're having some sort of conference talking about something where apparently if you're important, you go over there to talk about stuff if you want to be the next president of the United States. So Gavin Newsom, of course, not filling reservoirs with water, fire hydrants with water, lowering taxes in the highest tax state in the country, not doing anything about the homeless problem in the highest homeless rate in the country, not doing anything about poverty and the highest poverty rate in the country. No, he's over in Munich like he was in Davos in Switzerland just last month, there to berate the current president of the United States without, again, offering any worldview of his own in terms of, if I'm Gavin Newsom, this is how I would handle things as far as if I were president of the United States. What would you do about Iran, Gavin? Would you have ordered Operation Midnight Hammer to take out their facilities? No, of course not. Nuclear facilities? Nope. How would you have negotiated a peace in Gaza during that horrific war that Hamas started between Israel and Hamas? You don't know. What would you do about China in terms of stealing intellectual property and the whole trade war we have with them? The guy has no clue. He knows about hair gel, veneers, and bashing Trump. That's basically his sweet spot, or spots at this point. Anyway, getting back to AOC. This could be your next commander in chief. And you tell me, I'll be happy to play this twice. My show. I'll do it twice, actually, because I think it's that important. This person has zero clue how to handle anything outside of a social media account. That's not sexist. She can be a guy. I'd say the same thing about Don Lemon or Eric Swalwell or Senator Chris Murphy. Has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with her ethnicity, has nothing to do with anything. But listen to this answer. As far as foreign policy, it makes zero sense because she doesn't have a friggin' clue, yet she could be the 47th president of the United States. This is cut number one. Go.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. Right. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
What? You thought Kamala's word salads were that? That's 1,000 island dressing word salad. How many uhs were in that answer? She doesn't have a friggin' clue. If China went into Taiwan, what would you do? It is the first time, literally, she has been asked that question because she goes on MS Now and CNN, where all they do is say, hey, Donald Trump's a bad guy. How bad is he? What do you think about fascism in this country? All BS questions. Finally, a real question is asked. And that's how this person answers. Like a drunken sophomore trying to get to the minimum word and time count during an oral presentation. Let's play it again. It's that good. Cut number one, go.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
All right. I don't care how you vote. If you're a Democrat, how can you possibly support this person? She is not ready. She should not even be a congresswoman. All right. She should be a fundraiser for the DNC or a co-host on The View or a weekend host on MSNBC. That's it. President? That person? And I can guarantee you this is the way it's going to work out. Newsom probably gets the Democratic nomination because he lies at least a lot better in terms of pretending he knows what he's talking about. then he will choose AOC to be his running mate because, well, that will bring in, here's a calculation. It's never about who's best for the job. Just like with Kamala, she was chosen because of her gender and because of her race and because they want votes in certain places where they think that people are dumb enough to vote for people that, well, they look like me and I guess, they're not like a white person. So that's fine. And we need a woman in this position, which is utterly ridiculous. I don't mind women in any powerful positions, right? I would vote for, I think Condi Rice would be one hell of a president, quite frankly. But that's just me. Wrong party, though, if you're the mainstream media. The point is that Newsom will choose AOC to be his vice presidential candidate because she's going to get a lot of press time and she's really an excellent actress when she knows what she's talking about, unlike the clips you just heard. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Newsom versus AOC. I'm sorry, Newsom AOC versus JD Vance and Marco Rubio. And it will be a cakewalk for the Republicans if the economy under Trump continues to do as well as it is at this point, where, again, we saw another report on Friday, CPI, core inflation, down to 2.4%. This sucker was nearly 10% under Biden. Things are improving, no question about it. Now, if it's not AOC, it could very well be Jasmine Crockett, who has a nightly feature on this show where we play the Crockett clip that, again, this person wants to be a senator from Texas. And if she fails, undoubtedly will run for president because that gets her a book deal and gets her on TV a lot. And our dumb media will be dumb enough to put her on because she says such stupid stuff that I guess they think it rates because it's provocative. Who knows? Who cares? Here's Jasmine Crockett talking about how she never sleeps, ever. Cut number 7, go.
I also want to show up when I can, but I still have a full-time job that I was elected to do. And I am still showing up every single day at work while also trying to make sure that Texans know that I am serious about earning their support. So I am team no sleep right now. But you know what? Democracy can't wait. Yeah. And if I go to sleep, democracy may very well die.
Oh, democracy may die. I am done with this as far as Democrats talking about how they're going to save democracy. You literally installed a candidate as your nominee in 2024 in Kamala Harris without one vote from any Democrat, anybody in the primaries, installed Soviet style. And you're talking about saving democracy when you tried to lock up Donald Trump instead of just, taking him on the ballot box, which you lost in doing probably 3 times. The point is, Will Ferrell. Yeah, we're going to go from Jasmine Crockett to Will Ferrell. And I love Will Ferrell. Trust me. I love Will Ferrell as an actor. All right. Anchorman is one of my favorite movies all time. I will quote it until the cows come home. Old school, awesome. Ricky Bobby, a little uneven, but absolutely rewatchable every time that it is on. Blades of Glory. He's basically played every sport in every movie Will Ferrell has. And he's funny. The guy makes me laugh, especially on Saturday Night Live when he played the late, great Alex Trebek. Now, here is Will Ferrell talking about how women should run the world because he is a pussycat. And that's what pussycats say in these situations when they want applause, cheap applause. When, again, I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a guy. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. Are you the best qualified for an important position like president? If so, it doesn't matter what your color is, what your gender is, but nonetheless, here's Will Ferrell going full woke. Very disappointing. Cut number 9, go.
Forget about the entertainment world. Isn't it just time? Isn't it just time for women to run the planet? I'm not just trying to placate you, I swear.
Yeah, you are. You
are.
But
I don't know what else to do because we, men, we've been running the show since, 10,000 BC? Something like that. And we're not doing so good. So, please, can you guys just take over?
I'm sure he'd love a Republican woman to take over, right? So if, I don't know, let's see, let's think. Tulsi Gabbard, right, who ran for president as a Democrat in 2020. If she were to run, would anybody have a problem with that? Will Ferrell? It's a woman. You say women should run things. Now, of course, it has to be a Democratic, liberal, socialist woman. Then that will get Will Ferrell's approval. What you don't need approval on is buying gold. Look at the numbers, people. Inflation doesn't need to spike to hurt you. Even steady inflation, like we're seeing, quietly chips away at your savings year after year. The cash in your bank account, it buys less over time. That's why so many investors turn to gold and silver to help preserve purchasing power. When it comes to precious metals, I trust Goldline. They've been in business since 1960 and are owned by a Fortune 500 publicly traded company offering transparency and reliability, plus competitive pricing and free insured delivery. For my listeners only, there is an exclusive discount on historic American gold coins. Call 1-800-757-GOLD. Mention Joe. That's 1-800-757-4653. Call now. This is a limited time offer. Goldline.com. All right. This is the Joe Concha Show. This is the Joe Concha. Wow. Sunday morning Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.